There are very few vegetables with more health benefits than squash. Yet most of us aren't really sure about it unless it's loaded with butter and marshmallows. Dietitian Nina Struess presents 4 different squash varieties of the season. And there's not a marshmallow in sight, so I don't know if I can eat any of this. But
you can absolutely enjoy them with marshmallows if that's your thing.
We do that
definitely
at
around Thanksgiving,
right?
Totally,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you get them brown on top.
Yeah.
And, but like this acorn squash is I remember when we would usually just drench that with butter.
Butter and maple syrup and cinnamon.
Yes.
The sweet. It definitely is more of a sweeter variety, if that makes sense.
This is really good how you cooked it. You just baked it like that,
I
right?
just baked it, and I didn't season it as much because obviously you can take it and do what you want with it. A lot of times people will melt a little bit of butter in there. Like I said, there's a really great recipe that we have at Hy-Vee.com that is a maple salmon. So that would actually be a really great side dish to have along with that.
You can get some ideas out of Seasons Magazine as well because they have a beautiful squash section.
Oh my gosh, those recipes in there are fantastic.
I mean, really. I mean, this is really tasty. If you do it like this, you're going to have something special.
Yeah.
I've noticed chefs like to do a lot of special things with squash. Haven't you seen that?
Yes, and I think squash is very daunting because they're so hard, right? So the biggest
it's
thing,
like, what in the world am I doing with this, right?
Exactly. And so the biggest tip that I can give people when they're looking at cutting and wanting to cut them is you can take a knife or a fork and score the skin a couple of times.
You want to go ahead and do that
on
this one?
And then you can, well, this one actually you can peel the skin right off.
This is
butternut squash. Butternut squash, the skin can actually peel off, but if you score it a couple of times, put it in the microwave for about 2 to 3 minutes, that helps soften the skin and helps make it easier to actually cut. Because you think about cutting a butternut squash all the way down, it can be really difficult. Yeah. And so same thing with the spaghetti squash. So let the microwave do some of that work for you. Okay. Now butternut is another really great one that's for roasting. And sometimes you can find it. I could not find it today because it's just the stock is sometimes hit or miss, but you can also find butternut a lot of times in the frozen section.
It's so good. It tastes like carrot. There's some carrots.
There are some carrots in there. So this is actually a frozen medley that we have that you can just incorporate the butternut squash and not even have to deal with cutting it as well.
And the seeds.
Don't forget the seeds. So a lot of times, so those are the seeds from the acorn squash and the spaghetti squash.
That's good.
I just scooped those out and then I sorted them threw them on the pan as well and roasted them in the oven with a little bit of salt and olive oil.
Spaghetti squash. What is the name for those?
So this is the spaghetti squash.
It's just called spaghetti.
Yeah, it is spaghetti. It's called spaghetti squash, and as you can see, it's kind of called spaghetti squash because it looks like spaghetti.
Look at that.
And I just want to show you how easy it is. So this baked in the oven at 350 for 40 minutes, and look how easy it is to just fork it, just like that.
Just peels right off like spaghetti.
Now you can take that and put it in a pan with some butter, sage, a little bit of salt and pepper, or you can keep it in its little boat right here, add some spaghetti sauce, anything Italian seasoning. Your spaghetti squash is going to be much more neutral, but the first two are a little bit more nutty. This is going to be much more neutral, so it's going to be easier to really be able to pair with other things.
And the pie pumpkins, or I guess squash?
Yes, they are. And so we are starting to see them pop up in some of the stores. So we don't have them quite yet, but you're going to start seeing the little pie pumpkins. They're going to be a little bit more rounder than these guys here. You can actually bake them in the oven and use them for your own pumpkin pie puree. So if you really want to take your pumpkin pie for Thanksgiving up a level, or a lot of people are adding pumpkin puree to things like yogurt and smoothies.
It's so good for you.
Cookies, muffins. It has a really great component in terms of like vitamin A, lots of vitamins and minerals, a little bit of fiber that we're getting in there too. And with these guys, you can just cut them right in half and roast them on a pan.
Roast them. And then did you get a good look at those pumpkins? Oh, they look good, didn't they? So thank you, Nina, for the tips on all 4 of these and more great ideas in Seasons Magazine.
Lots of good ones in there.